I'm going to tell y'all right now, as a chef, they are allowing these producers to force printed meats on the masses. I said it a couple weeks ago. I'm going to tell y'all again. I picked up a case of chicken breast. It was supposed to be chicken breast. And you could tell that it was 3D printed because none of the pieces, it was like cylinders, and none of it was sticking together. Okay, I had to throw the whole case out. I bought this case at a restaurant supplier. They are force feeding people fake ass 3D printed meats. I am now switching back to all bone-in meats. I'm not doing boneless anymore.
And now, another reason why you need to stop eating processed food. So allegedly, a disturbing truth has been revealed about Campbell's soup. And allegedly, the chicken that Campbell's has been using inside of their chicken noodle soup and chicken soup and any soup that contains chicken is not real. You heard what I said. The chicken that they've been putting inside of the cans of chicken soup allegedly is not real. As a matter of fact, take a listen to this.
We have shit for fucking poor people. Who buys our shit? People keep it. I don't buy healthy products barely anymore. It's not healthy. Now that I know what the in it, even in a can of soup, I look at it, look at meat, bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer.
And by just listening to this clip, you heard what he allegedly just said, right? I don't want a piece of chicken that came out of a 3D printer. He also allegedly said that he doesn't want any bioengineered chicken. And now to put some context into 3D printed chicken, that's exactly what 3D printed chicken looks like. And just in case you have any concern as to how long 3D printed chicken has been around, this article is from September of 2021. This 3D printed chicken breast was cooked with a frickin' laser. Engineers at Columbia University developed a system that can simultaneously produce and heat food with precision. So this is pretty disturbing. As I said, it's alleged. If it turns out that it's true, what other companies are putting 3D printed chicken into their food? And if you go back and listen to the statement that was made, by the way, that's the vice president of Campbell's. He also stated that their food is for poor people. That should also be a very strong indicator to you as to how this company feels about you. And the individual responsible for recording the VP's rant, as you can see right by this headline, Campbell's worker fired after recording VP's rant mocking poor people and 3D printed chicken. So keep this in the back of your mind. As you can see, it can look like chicken. It may taste like chicken, but everyone heard what was said on that clip. It's not chicken. So I guess my question to you is, after hearing that, will you still eat this if it allegedly is true? And also, what other companies do you think are using 3D printed chicken? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekakadash, and double honors and respect to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth, as well as much respect and honors to the brothers that are pushing this truth in sincerity across the four winds of this earth and risking their lives and freedom to do so. I would also like to give much honors and respect to the brothers and sisters that are of the hopeful elect that are doing their very best to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High to the best of their abilities. Shalom. As you saw in these TikTok videos that I just shared with you, in the first video, you heard what the Eve was saying. Okay, she was saying that she's a chef, and she was saying in a lot of these restaurants now, what they're doing is they're feeding the people 3D printed meat, basically engineered meat. Okay, and I believe she was saying that it was she had mentioned about chicken. Okay, and I'm pretty sure there's other meats too that these devils are basically, engineering and they're feeding to the people. Because here it is, I can remember not so long ago, you had that devil Billy Gates from hell, and he was talking about coming up with engineered meat and whatnot and selling it to the people and whatnot. Okay. And so, it just shows you, that we're eating the foul food over here. Also, too, in the second TikTok video that I shared with you, you heard what this man was saying about Campbell Soup. Here it is. They have this CEO of Campbell Soup. He was allegedly recorded basically saying that he wouldn't eat any of the the products that they're selling to the people because of they're having basically bioengineered meat put into their food. And then he also had mentioned that the food that they're selling is basically for poor people. In so many words, that's what he was saying. Okay. And so you already know who he was talking about when he said poor people. You already know who he was referring to. He was talking about our people. And when I say our people, I'm talking about the nation of Israel. Who are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and those that are of the speckled bird that look like these other nations, which you go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on your father's side. But again, when you see, videos like this right here, what I just shared with you, it just shows you that we're eating the foul food over here. Okay. And that it also shows you that we need deliverance. Okay. We need to get the hell up out of Babylon the Great, because this place is wicked as hell and everything is defiled over here. Okay. Everything from the food to the air, to the water, it's defiled over here. This devil Esau, he's also pushing out all types of wicked philosophies and whatnot that's got a lot of our people's minds all messed up. We need deliverance. Okay. And this devil, he's intentionally defiling everything over here because this devil, he wants to keep people in a sick and weakened state. OK, he wants to keep, the people in and out of the healthcare system to feed big pharma's pockets. Also, too, this devil, he wants to keep people's lives short and whatnot. OK, and so this devil, he's intentionally doing these type of things. OK, and see, here it is. This devil Esau, these devils, they don't sleep unless they're doing some type of wickedness. OK. They don't sleep unless they're causing, someone to fall. And so, again, we need deliverance because these devils, they're currently in the power seat, and these devils, they're intentionally defiling everything, And, with that being said, this devil, he has to go. OK, this devil Esau, he has to go because these devils, they rule in wickedness, they're ruling in wickedness. And because of Esau, you have the people are in a weakened and mourning state because of these devils. The entire earth is in a weakened and mourning state because of this devil Esau, who's currently in the power seat, But with that being said, this devil, he doesn't have much longer in the power seat. His kingdom is literally falling right before our eyes. And it's going to fall very soon, Lord willing. And, those of us that are of the hopeful elect, we're looking forward to the downfall of this devil, because we're sick and tired of being, oppressed by this devil. We're sick and tired of this devil having his foot on our necks, But, again, we're eating the foul food over here. OK, and so, with that being said, this is why, and I've shared this in previous lessons, but, this is why, whenever you're going grocery shopping or even, if you're going to, various restaurants, Israel, you should be very selective. OK, of the food that you're getting. OK. Now, here it is, everything over here is defiled. And so with that being said, Israel, you should always do your due diligence to try to get the best of the worst. OK, because, again, everything's defiled over here. And so you should always try to do your due diligence to get the best of the worst. Myself personally, and I've shared this in previous lessons and I'll share it again. Whenever I'm grocery shopping, I always try to read the back of labels, to try to see what's in the food. And if it's something that looks off, or if it's something that I can't look up, and find out what it is, I stay clear of it. Also, too, if I'm going to a restaurant or something like that, places like fast food restaurants such as, these fast food restaurants such as Mickey D's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, places like that right there, I stay clear of those places. OK, because when you're eating at places like that right there, you're eating the worst of the worst. And when you're eating at places like that right there, you're setting yourself up to have your health compromised. And so places like that, fast food restaurants like those, I stay clear of them, and you should, too. But, I saw these, short videos right here, and I just thought that I would bring out a quick lesson. And so also, too, most importantly, always pray over your food, Israel. Always pray over your food, because, again, it's no telling what these devils are putting in the food. OK, it's no telling what these devils are doing to the food. So most importantly, always pray over your food. And so what I'm going to go ahead on and do is I'm going to bring out a couple of scriptures and then we will end the lesson. Okay, the first scripture I want to go to is in the book of Isaiah, and this is chapter 24, and this is verse 4. And it reads, "The earth mourned and faded away. The world languished and faded away. The haughty people of the earth do languish." Okay, and see, the world is currently in a weakened state because of this devil Esau Edom, starting with these elite bankers, that are currently in rulership. Here it is this devil Esau. He's the wicked. And this devil Esau, what he's doing is he's doing everything, contrary to the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. Okay, here it is. The people are in a weakened state because of this devil. Okay, you have the wildlife, the sea life, the plant life is in a weakened and mourning state because of these devils. Okay, these devils, they're defiling everything. Okay, Esau has the entire earth in a weakened and mourning state because these devils, they're ruling in wickedness. And as I had mentioned earlier, this devil, he defiles everything from the food that we have to consume. Okay, he's putting all types of GMOs and things like that into our food. Okay, he's putting all types of other things into the food that doesn't belong there. Here it is, this devil, what he's doing is he's engineering, food and whatnot, which is causing the people to become ill and in a weakened state. Okay, again, this devil, he's defiling the air that we have to consume, by spraying his chemtrails and things like that into the air. He's defiling the water, by putting all types of other chemicals and whatnot into the water. Okay, and so this devil, he has the entire earth in a weakened and mourning state. Esau was unfit to rule. Esau was the reason why we're hearing about wars and rumors of wars. Okay, these devils, they rule in wickedness. And the whole earth is in a wicked and mourning state because of Esau. Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. Isaiah chapter 24, and this is verse 5. It says, "The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant." Okay, and see, the everlasting covenant is this word, because Esau does everything against the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay, again, here it is, this devil, he puts all types of GMOs and bioengineered things into the food that doesn't belong there. Okay, here it is, this devil, he says that, that it's okay to eat shrimp, crabs, and lobsters and stuff like that. He says that the Lord's laws are done away with, and that's a lie, because the Lord's laws are not done away with, and we don't supposed to be eating those abominable things, such as shrimp, crabs, and lobsters and whatnot. Okay, but you have a lot of our people, they like to eat on those things. Okay, because a lot of our people, they're following after this devil Esau. Okay, but here it is. This devil. Let's read this verse again. It says, "The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant." And again, the everlasting covenant is his word. And Esau does everything against the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Here it is, Esau. He says it is okay for men to be with men. He says that it's okay for women to be with women. Okay, and all this does is just bring nothing but confusion, disease, death, and destruction. Okay. And that's what this devil brings. Okay, he brings something but confusion, disease, death, and destruction. And again, the whole earth is defiled under these devils, because they're ruling in wickedness. They're not fit to rule. Let's go to the book of Lamentations, and this is chapter 3, and this is verse 22. And it reads, "It is of the Lord Yahweh Shemawashai's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not." Okay, and see, because of our disobedience to the Most High, this is the reason why, we're over here in Babylon the Great, serving under these conditions, serving under this devil Esau and the rest of these heathens. Okay, and our punishment is well deserved, because we went off as a nation of people. But even though, our Heavenly Father, is chastising us, it's through the Lord's mercy that we're not consumed. Okay, the Lord has not left us, because, this devil Esau, he really wants to take us all out as a people. He wants to neutralize us, and make us all sterile and whatnot. Okay, this devil, he wants to do away with the nation of Israel. Okay, he wants to keep our people, in a sick and weakened state. He wants to keep our people's lives short. And this is why this devil Esau, he's defiling the food. Okay, he's defiling the air, the water. Okay, this devil, he pushes out wicked philosophies and whatnot, to try to keep our people, mentally destroyed and whatnot. And even though, this devil is doing these things to try, to destroy our people, it's through the Lord's mercy that we're not consumed. Okay, let's go to the book of Ezekiel, and this is chapter 4, and this is verse 13. And it says, and the Lord Yahweh Shemabashah said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whether I will drive them. And again, we're eating defiled food over here in Babylon the Great because this devil Esau, he defiles everything over here. Okay. And again, this is one of many reasons why we need deliverance. But again, as I had mentioned earlier, Israel, you should always do your due diligence, when you're, going grocery shopping or whenever you're getting food. Okay. You should always try to get the best of the worst. Okay. And most importantly, you should always pray over your food. Okay. You should always pray over your food because, again, it's no telling what these devils are doing to the food. It's no telling what they're putting in the food, But, again, we're eating defiled food over here in Babylon the Great. And again, this is one of many reasons why we need deliverance. Okay. Okay, this is Luke, and this is chapter 16, and this is verse 20 that I want to start in. And it reads, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores. And see, this is a parable, and that beggar Lazarus would represent the Israelites, because here it is in this current society, we're at the bottom, okay? And we have to feed, off the crumbs of Esau's society. Verse 21, it says, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. Okay. And see, that rich man, would represent Esau because Esau was, given the earth for a certain period of time. Esau, he's currently in the power seat. And so, we have to go to this devil as well as the rest of these heathens for the want of all things, which is part of the curses that fell upon us. Having to go, to Esau and the rest of these heathens, for the want of all things is a judgment that the Most High put, on us because, again, we broke, the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord Yahweh Shemabashah. Verse 21 again, and I want to get this last part to where it says, moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. Okay, they said the dogs came and licked his sores, and so the dogs would represent the rest of these heathens, because here it is with the rest of these heathens. What they would do is they would come into our neighborhoods. Okay, they would set up all types of stores and shops and restaurants. They extort our people. They sell our people garbage, such as poorly prepared food, expired lunch meat, engineered food and whatnot. Basically selling our people garbage and abominations, which will eventually, make you sick and perish and whatnot. And so basically what these heathens are doing is they're basically making money while oppressing us at the same time. They're basically kicking us while we're down. Luke chapter 16, verse 22. And it reads, and it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. Verse 23, it says, and in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. Okay. And so again, the rich man is talking about Esau, Edom. Okay. And, this right here is talking about the tables turning, because the tables are going to turn, because here it is. We're at the end of Esau, Edom's rulership. These devils, they don't have much longer in the power seat. Their kingdom is literally falling right before our eyes. This is why we're seeing, inflation that's happening. Okay. The dollar bill is losing its value. The work is drying up over here. Here it is. You're having all of these other nations. They're threatening war with America. You have Russia is threatening war with America, China, North Korea, Iran, even America's allies are beginning to turn on America. A lot of these other nations, they're no longer, wanting to do business with America. You're having a lot of these other nations, they're now starting to reject the U.S. dollar because it's not backed by anything. And so, we're clearly seeing this place is falling right before our eyes, and it's going to fall. Okay, America is on life support, and that plug is soon about to be pulled. And, once this place falls, once these devils fall, the new righteous rulership comes in. And in the new righteous rulership, Israelites will be on top, starting with our Lord and Savior, Yahushua,
along with the 144,000 elect men of Israel. And in the new righteous kingdom, Esau and the rest of these heathens, they're going to be at the bottom in servitude where they belong. And after 1,000 years of hardcore bondage, this devil Esau, he's going to be wiped off the face of the earth. And again, the rest of these heathens, they're going to go into hardcore bondage for 1,000 years as well. But after that 1,000 years is up, the rest of these heathens, they're going to get their land back. However, they're going to still be under us, okay? And they're going to still have to follow our laws. Okay. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah, and this is chapter 51, and I want to start in verse 22. And it reads, "Thus said thy Lord, the Lord Yahweh Shah, and thy power that pleaded the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thy hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again." Okay, and see, again, trading places is what's going to happen. Okay, and see also too, here it is, if you, look, at our neighborhoods where the majority of our people are living, you can literally see the Lord's fury. Okay, you can see, the dregs of the cup, which is the bottom of the barrel of food. Okay, the bottom of the barrel of housing. Okay, in our neighborhoods where the majority of our people live. The bottom of the barrel of education. And see, all of this is part of the Lord's fury. Here it is, in the majority of our neighborhoods, you can, even the dogs, and the cats, they look through, in the majority of our neighborhoods, where our people live, Let's read this again. This is Isaiah chapter 51, verse 22 again. It says, "Thus says thy Lord, the Lord Yahweh Shah, and thy power that pleaded the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thy hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again." Okay, and see, with that being said, this is the last captivity that we're going to be in. Thus says the Lord Yahweh Shah. And the Lord said that that He's not going to make us drink that cup of His fury again. And with that being said, that's something to definitely be that's something to definitely be happy about. Okay, and it's definitely something to look forward to because those of us that are of the hopeful elect, we're ready to go home. Okay, we're ready to get the heck up out of here. We're sick and tired of being oppressed by these devils and the rest of these heathens. Isaiah chapter 51 and verse 23, and it reads, "But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, Bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground and as the street to them that went over." Okay, and see, again, trading places is what's going to happen. Esau and the rest of these heathens are going to feel the wrath of the Lord. Okay, Esau and the rest of these heathens, they're going to be at the bottom. Okay, and we're going to be at the top in the new righteous rulership that's soon to come. And we're going to tread upon Esau and the rest of these heathens because, Esau and the rest of these heathens have treaded upon us. Okay, Esau and the rest of these heathens, they're going to be our ultimate doormat. Okay, we're going to end off here in Micah, and this is chapter 2, and this is verse 1. And it reads, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand." And see, Esau, he devises iniquity and works of evil because he's currently in the power seat, And this is why this devil, because he's currently in the power seat, this is why this devil is able to do the wickedness that he's doing. This is why this devil, he's defiling the food that we have to consume. He's defiling the air, the water, okay? He's pushing out all types of wicked philosophies and whatnot because this devil, he's currently in the power seat. But, again, this devil, he doesn't have much longer. His kingdom is literally falling right before our eyes, and it's going to fall very soon, Lord willing. And with that being said, this devil Esau has a great and terrible judgment coming to him very soon, Lord willing. Okay. Also, too, as I had mentioned, the rest of these heathens, they're not going to get off scot-free either. They got a judgment coming to them as well. They got a great and terrible judgment coming to them as well. But Esau, he's going to get it the worst. Okay.
Because, here it is. After that 1,000 years of hardcore bondage, this devil Esau, he's going to be eradicated off the face of the earth. These other nations, after 1,000 years of hardcore bondage, they're going to get their lands back. But however, they're going to still be up under us, and they're going to still follow our laws, But this devil Esau, after that 1,000 years, that's it for him, okay? He's going to be eradicated off the face of the earth. And so, that's pretty much the point. I'm going to go ahead and end off here. I hope it was edifying. Once again, I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and double honors and respect to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, Kwam Yasharal and Abba Baba. Shalom.